Okay, before we discover how you arrived in the data center industry, just be good to understand a little bit about your sports background. What was it you were doing before you arrived in the data center space?
Yeah, sure. So I was a professional rugby player for around about 10 years. I did, I came through the Saracens Academy, went to Loughborough University, and then did 4 seasons with England Sevens and then 4 seasons with Harlequins before finishing up my time last summer and yeah, joining the data center world.
Okay, and in terms of the that transition, without I mean, share what you're happy to, but what was it that decided you that the rugby had come to an end and therefore you needed to find an alternative career, if you like?
Uh, there was quite a few things that kind of led me to make the decision. I knew that I was going to be released by Quins, and I was still looking at rugby opportunities, but throughout the process of um, looking at other clubs, but also having a look at what else was out there, the decision for me was kind of made on the fact that I think it was the right time. I think I'd done what I'd kind of wanted to in the game. I was very pleased with the 10-year stint I've had in professional sport. But mostly there's a big factor. I've got a young family. I've got nearly 2 year old and expecting another. So the ability to go into an environment where there's a little bit more work-life balance, you get to spend a little more time, bit more time at home. Your weekends are always at home. It kind of just ticked all the boxes that I wanted for a career moving forward.
Okay, so once you decided to move on from the world of rugby, um, did you just think the data center industry is for me, or were you looking at a variety of opportunities? So yeah, how did you bump into the data center industry, I guess?
I bumped into it quite literally by bumping. I had no idea about the data center world, if I'm honest. It was a field I'd never really heard of. Quantity surveying had always been yeah, it could be mentioned to me at school. I did a maths degree at Loughborough, so numbers had always been the route I would think to go down. Um, but coming out of rugby, it was looking more through teaching or asset management or account those kind of slightly more readily available fields. But then I got a call from JLB, Holly at JLB, who wanted to put me in touch with James Carmelet and just have a conversation, see what the company was about, see what I was about. And to be honest, I came off that call and didn't really look back. I knew that that was where I was going to go. The company fit, the type of work, and the general culture that James portrayed was something that I really wanted out of the business.
Okay, so your immediate reaction, I mean, you didn't know anything about the industry. Were you looking at other sectors as well, or was this very much the first sort of obvious opportunity you had career-wise?
There were a few other opportunities I had, but when I lay them all on the table, this was the best fit for me. There was a few. So as I mentioned, I kind of Quins have a relationship with Charles Stanley, so I had a few conversations with them about options to go into the wealth management. I had a few conversations with some friends who are teachers about going into maths teaching. And then this was probably the third uh, option that kind of came onto the table. And as I say, when I kind of laid them all on the table, read through all the pros and cons, this was definitely the best fit. And data centers is obviously quite a niche thing to talk about. It's quite a niche element of, I guess, the surveying profession, but it actually really interested me when I had the conversation, just how important they are. And to be honest, not knowing a lot about them was a big draw because I wanted to learn as much as I could coming out of a field where I knew quite a lot, coming into something completely new. Um, Felt quite nice to kind of have that learning process again.
Okay, and in terms of the sort of time frame and the pathway from the initial interview to joining, was that a fairly simple process? Was there anything that you sort of gave you sort of pause for thought, or it just was all positive? You just obviously like the idea of the data center space as far as you knew it, and also that BCS in particular.
Yeah, definitely. It was it was actually quite surprising how smooth it felt for me because obviously having not really been through an interview process before, um, I had one interview, had that conversation with James, and then had another um, interview with Gary and Ben. And off the back of that, it kind of just felt seamless that this was the way I was going to go. And if the company wanted to have me, then I was going to jump at the opportunity.
Okay, so in terms of what it is you're now doing there, you obviously mentioned the quantity surveying, but what's your job role, and if there is a typical day or week, what sort of things do you get up to?
So yeah, so my title is cost consultant, which is very similar to the quantity surveying title. We essentially work on behalf of the client to, well, what I'm starting to learn is there's essentially two stages, pre-contract and post-contract, and I'm currently working on a post-contract project where I'm dealing with a lot of variations that might be going on with the construction project as a whole. Um, a lot of change control, early warning notices, um, PMI, project managers instructions. So I'm getting a good insight into what actually goes on site. I've been on site a few times, walked around the project to kind of get to grips with what I'm actually evaluating when I'm making these decisions and these cost decisions. Um, but as you say, I would say at the moment I've kind of got a reasonably regular day to day in terms of that's what it is. It's kind of there's a cyclical process to it. You have evaluation monthly, you go out to site monthly. But previous to that, I've been working on pre-contract where I've been doing cost plans, measures for cost plans. Um, and when I first started, it was pretty much all just there's a lot of YouTube videos trying to understand what data centers were and all the systems. So I've kind of progressed gradually into this position that I'm in at the moment, but it's kind of given me an overview of the project, data centers, and I've kind of seen both sides of it so far, which is really nice.
And I guess that it's not obvious there's a link between the world of professional sport, rugby, and data centers. But I mean, have you found that things that skills you picked up from the world of professional sport have been useful in your new, certain things you've learned, or is it pretty much a blank piece of paper you've got to start from scratch, or you've been able to bring things with you?
No, I think that's what's brilliant about what the BCS have done is they've recognized that we as professional sports people have a lot of skills. We just don't necessarily have the background knowledge. So a lot of for me particularly in the position that I played in rugby, I'd have to have a lot of communication with different people, different characters. Sometimes you'd have to be stern, sometimes you'd have to be not. You have to read a room quite well in terms of how to talk to them. But also it's the understanding of how important relationships are and working in a team, a project team, isn't too dissimilar to working in a sports team. It's understanding how each other's work, how you can help one another in an area that one might not be so strong and one might be weak. It's kind of it's the what's the best word? The kind of the team work element, I think that has transferred over really nicely. I think the other big thing is I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to ask what might be perceived as a stupid question. Um, because I think if, as I've found out previously, if you don't know what you're doing in a sports environment, you get found out very quickly. So that kind of transferred over very quickly. So anything that I wasn't quite sure of, I'd ask a question, find out what was going on, find out the right way to do it, and then the other element that's backed onto this is the quick learning, is you've got to learn quickly with this, all of this, because it's a fast-paced world. So I think what's been really nice for me is I was obviously nervous going into a brand new job, brand new environment, but a lot of my uh, personal skills, interpersonal skills, teamwork, leadership, all of those things that kind of you associate with professional sport, professional rugby, transfer into this environment more seamlessly than you'd think.
And I'm just wondering your thoughts. I mean, obviously you've been in the industry for a little while now, and I know BCS has other ex-professional sports
Mm.
folks in there, so I guess you bumped into those. But do
Yeah.
you what's your first impression of the industry? Are you a bit depressed that the average age is sort of the wrong side? I don't know, 50, shall we say, and not so many youngsters? Just any impressions you have as to the
No,
industry that you
I
see fit?
think the industry is a fascinating one. I think it's under, well, until recently, I think it's under view, it's not viewed in the right way. The importance of a data center is huge. I don't think a lot of people, if I spoke to a lot of my friends, they would be like, I don't know what a data center is. I don't even know what it does. Um, so when you try and convey the importance of what a data center is and how it affects everyday life a lot, is quite eye-opening for a lot of people. Now, it's understandably got a shortage of skills because it's viewed in that way. It hasn't necessarily been at the forefront of what um, the built environment view as the big fish, as it were. But um, the programs like this sports program with BCS is kind of alluding to the fact that there is a skills shortage and there is a shortage of um, well qualified people and the right type of people. So coming into it, I didn't really have any preconceived ideas of what it should look like or what it would look like. Joining has only just boosted my thought process on how it needs more. I think there still needs more backing in terms of uh, developing younger people to get them into it and developing those skills. But I think it's going in the right direction. It's just I think as it still needs a bit of work, which I think if you talk to a lot of people in the industry, they kind of agree that it's on the up, but still needs work.
And maybe just sort of in finishing, can you see it? Yeah, obviously, no one knows exactly what's around the corner, but can you basically see yourself making a good career for, within the sector for the
Yeah,
foreseeable future? You're interested, it's exciting,
yeah,
so you can just see yourself enjoying it for a few years to come at least. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I can't see myself leaving the industry. It's fascinating. I think having spoken to some of the senior guys and the guys I've been working on a project with, even they say every day is a learning day. Every day is new. There's something new that crops up. There's a new piece of equipment. There's a new way of doing things. There's something new every day. So I can't imagine that'll ever get boring, which is what's amazing about a profession like this and the industry that I'm in. So yeah, for me, the long term is definitely staying in this industry and seeing how it goes.
Okay, well, it's been lovely to chat, Will, and some brilliant insights into the transfer from sport to data centers and your thoughts on the industry. So really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thanks very much.
No, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. I think it's an important topic, I think, which is really good. I'm really pleased to be talking about it.